Influencers have found a way to capture hundreds, thousands, millions, and they're not slowing down. The world we live in allows for even more audiences to be reached in a variety of different languages at any age. That means we're currently living in a world that's the most well-connected, intertwined, and homogenous. Except no, we're not. Not at all. It's actually worse. Look here, in 1990, 33% of Americans said they had 10 plus close friendships. Now, 13%. So what the hell happened? Why are we so lonely? Who's to blame? And why is it only getting worse?
Oh no. No.
So COVID started on December 12th, 2019, and was basically the starting gun for the loneliness epidemic. And it sucked. Sorry, sucks. Yay. 2025. It also set in place this new kind of normal, work from home, students getting screwed over, so not much is actually new. And dating app downloads skyrocketing. But with more shots comes more rejection, which leads to frustration, then anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to the Manosphere. It's a blanket term to describe the male-dominated online communities, forums, vlogs, blogs, etc. The rabbit hole I went down was ridiculous, but in the interest of time and sanity, we're gonna limit ourselves to 3 categories: incels, red pills, and black pills. Incels, short for involuntary celibacy, refers to a group of individuals who are trying to get laid, but they can't, despite their attempts. This community is way too good at creating negativity and divides amongst one another to reinforce isolation. Besides putting themselves down, there are forums that exist with the sole purpose to humiliate one another, with individuals posting pictures of themselves just to have any physical flaw or blemish ridiculed or criticized. They've also created further divides amongst themselves by utilizing racist labeling like rice cells, curry cells, black cells, and so on. All of this is an attempt to further distinguish ethnic groups by listing off general stereotypes or genetic features they're born with to further give an explanation to why they are celibate or will continue to be celibate. When trying to identify who the true influencers of these spaces are, it can get a bit tricky. I think it can be easy to point to people like Elliot Rogers and George Saudini, who had a lot of media attention and also had YouTube channels and blogs with followers, and say, those are the influencers, those are the martyrs, those are the leaders of the incel world. The most demonic, evil, violent versions of that community? Yeah. Sure, definitely. But I'd say you're an influencer because you influence others by your actions, ideology, yada, 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 yada. That being said, I don't think these individuals specifically are an accurate representation of who majority of incels would prop up and follow. It's the ugly dumbass, Frieza-Cell, Todd Thundercock. It's so stupid. It's these individuals who may not have these big media spotlights on them, but whose contributions and posts to these discussion boards are just as harmful, given their relatability and agreeableness. But that's only harboring hatred, anger, and in this case, loneliness and friendlessness. Yes, friendlessness, because the lack of intimacy goes beyond sexual. It's social intimacy and interaction as well. Take a report that came out in 2022. They compared the dating app profiles of incels to non-incels. They were measured by seeing who had pictures of their friends on their page, the percentages being incels 18% to 52% for non-incels. Were there many participants in that study? No. Have I seen incels talking about their loneliness and lack of friends more than I've seen JD daydreaming? Yeah. Even beyond physical attractiveness, the main calling card of why incels can't make friends, any internal struggles they may have, like shyness or challenges with social interaction, they explain away with one simple term: autism. And the bulk of them that use it as a self-defense are usually self-diagnosed. You see the problem. People that fall into this community have no chance of making friends because they're either too busy putting themselves down, or they have people within their own community as influencers or otherwise telling them that they can't. And those aren't friends. Friends tell you got it. Scared of skydiving? Let's go together. Feeling insecure about your outfit? Aaron Samuels would totally call you gruel. But this? People instinctively avoid pain. Well, most pain. Whether it's physical or emotional. So these aren't your friends, these are pessimistic commentators. What's worse is the alternative, because you may believe there's no escape. Or is there? If your body's against you, but you still want to change. Society's against you, but you want to control it. And women are against you, but you still want them. You have to find a new way and evolve. But your only resources is what you know. So you're given 2 choices. Continue thinking the way that you do, or see how far this rabbit hole goes. If you want to understand red pill mentality, think about the old cliche, nice guys finish last. So be an asshole. Like incels, red pills believe that society views men as disposable, women are dating up exclusively, and are only attracted to alpha men. Unlike incels, however, there is a way to become that alpha male. Looks maxing, working out, getting plastic surgery, improving your game, buying a dog, buying a horse, f it. So if you're transitioning from incel to red pill, it's a pretty sweet deal. But who will guide these lost souls, these vulnerable virgins, these sexless saps? Who else but their leader, their commander, their king, Emery Andrew Tate III.
I don't even talk to old hoes. If you're depressed, I don't want to think anything like you, so take your opinion and get
There have been copycats, half-assed clones, but nobody compares with the genuine article that is this Egg. And for all I could talk about, and I could, besides Egg bragging and showing off his lavish lifestyle, which is entirely destructive in a whole other way, which we'll get to later in this video, he, like many others, promotes this dog-eat-dog world. Not only do you need to be successful, you need to beat the other guy.
And all these NPCs, I'm just looking at them going, do they realize they're in endless, constant competition? And I want the money you want, and I want the girl you want, and the house you want. And I'm gonna get it, and you're fucking not.
So there's no camaraderie or teamwork. It's just you climbing the rope and cutting it behind you. So how can you make friends if you're against everyone and vice versa? Not to mention, Egg loves spreading the gospel about how anyone suffering from mental health problems is weak.
If believing in the idea of depression is gonna take my own power away, then I won't believe in it. I don't wanna believe in things that make me weak.
And if you're really hurting mentally and emotionally, fix that shit yourself. But don't you dare share your struggles with somebody else, then you're a lesser than, a beta. So how can you feel comfortable sharing your feelings, being vulnerable, and in turn making more deep, impactful connections? Which is how true and meaningful friendships are formed. You can't, so you're alone. But what makes it beyond bad is Egg is successful. Even given everything we know, people will still view him as a success and will listen to him. People are blinded by the concept of getting women, especially in the current trajectory of the dating culture. Sometimes Egg will talk about pulling yourself up by your own strength and working hard. And in microdoses, that could be good advice, but I just see it as a foot in the door technique. Imagine walking through your local grocery store and they're giving out free cheese samples. So you try one, like it, and end up buying a whole wheel. But they don't just sell cheese, they sell crackers and salami to pair it with. And now you find yourself out $80. You get roped in by this "you got it" speech, and then you're open to listen and be persuaded by his other bull takes. Soon enough, you find yourself friendless, alone, and an hole. People that follow advice from him and others like him are creating friendship bonds as strong as paper mache, given a complete and utter lack of emotional vulnerability and an underlying need to compete and bully one another to rise to the top. Additionally, TTT are simply outdated, misogynistic, and sexist. They will not only alienate you from the very women you're trying to pursue, but any potential friendships that you could have become null and void because majority of people don't think that way unless they're 12 years old. And if the guidance of Rude from Final Fantasy VII doesn't work, you're kind of f***ed. Having no friends or relationship of any kind, you collapse in on yourself like a dying star. Deciding to stop taking the red pill and leaving it alone, it starts to age and decay, turning black. If Tigger is the red pill to the 100-acre woods, Eeyore is the black pill. Much like incel ideology, black pillars believe that physical attractiveness is the end-all be-all. The difference is it stops there. No amount of money, power, intelligence can help you. Even the most extreme version of looks maxing, plastic surgery, won't move the needle enough, so don't even bother. You either learn to deal with it and cope, or you don't. And, well, it rhymes with cope. The context is unaliving. Influencers in this space run parallel to many basic incels. They don't need to be big, loud, and obnoxious. They can thrive on message boards and blogs, and that's enough. Black pillars are the essence of isolation and loneliness. Don't make friends. Don't even try. It's a lost cause. Would you flap your arms to fly? No. Are you stupid? And this is the pinnacle of incelhood, a literal sunken place. Nowhere to go, no escape, just accept your fate. But if you want to be like Daniel Kaluuya and get out, that's going to be a problem too. Not just with black pills, but with these communities as a whole. There is fear of exclusion and exile from these groups, which is wildly ironic. Let's just say you had a change of heart. You realize, I drank too much Kool-Aid, I just want to walk away, but you can't, and you don't know why. Well, you've been taught to think this way for God knows how long. And that mindset isn't being played by Sean Bean. You can't get rid of it that easily. You're thinking, if I leave this group, I won't find anybody, friends or otherwise. But I can't stay because I hate these people and I've already been banned and cast out. I'm a normie now, or a blue pill, or whatever other terrible thing they're gonna label you as. But my question is, how does someone even get to this point? Oh, either too far gone or trying to pry away. This mentality doesn't come out of thin air. I mean, people didn't go, damn, I'm not getting any ass, time to become an incel. To pick up any habit to implement, ideology to embrace, influencer to follow, it has to come from somewhere, right? And it has to be consistent with its delivery. Kind of like the suitcase of Pulp Fiction, little is known about the various algorithms that run these social media platforms. But one thing is clear, the main purpose is to keep you on the site. Especially now, you can make money on these algorithms if you're savvy enough, as long as you're willing to appease the algorithm and its mission statement. But like anything, there can be consequences to supporting this cause. When being interviewed by Piers Morgan a few years back, Egg was questioned on a take he had concerning women being property of men once they're married. He was playing a lot of politics, no definitive yes or no's, just a bunch of long-winded yapping. And you could tell he wasn't as comfortable with his blatant misogyny now as he was back then. And I think that can be summed up best by this quote in the interview. "The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept." And that right there is the microcosm to the bigger issue. You see, the attention economy is this fight to the top. However, it's really hard to get noticed. Take YouTube, for example. They have 3.7 million uploads a day. So the only real way to get eyes on you is to be ridiculous and extreme to stand out. Your unhinged takes are keeping more people on the platform. So two things are gonna happen. They're gonna keep pushing the content that you make, and it's going to push other creators' takes that fall within the same mindset. And therein lies the problem. If we're just talking about the previous section concerning the incels, red pills, and black pills, you've got a bunch of creators, influencers, bloggers, whoever, pushing the most radical and extreme versions of this ideology. Even if they don't believe everything they're saying, they're being rewarded financially, or they're just getting more attention. And the algorithm contributes 100%. It doesn't know why people are watching, nor does it care. The viewer isn't leaving, they're watching more related content to the topic, and they're engaging with it. So here's more, and more, and more, and more, and soon you find yourself in a social cyclone. If you're chronically online, and let's be honest, then the bulk of the information that you receive, who you interact with, and what you do in your free time is online. So if you're being fed this information from all angles, why wouldn't you think this is how everybody thinks? And that closes you off from many differing perspectives or opinions, because you're not gonna download ground news, and read? So it makes us closed-minded and worsens our sense of loneliness, specifically in this case if we're talking about these communities. But you can apply this to anything. Try going through a breakup, losing a loved one, getting fired from your job, and tell me you're not gonna get endless content regarding whatever you're going through. Even have little jokes about how we have our own personal FBI agent because of how creepily accurate information comes onto our newsfeed regarding something we may be going through, even though we haven't talked to anybody about it. And what are you doing? No, we can't. He can't meet. Yes, you. I'm in my bed. What are you doing? I can see you. No, get back here. Stop. Don't run. There are plenty of examples of parents and friends raging at these different platforms because their algorithms were feeding harmful, consistent content to individuals who are mentally unstable or overwhelmed at the time, leading them to doing something that got them seriously hurt or worse. Because the algorithm doesn't care about what you're watching, it cares that you're watching. And good luck trying to change the onslaught of the same content being sent your way. For one, you may not even be in the right headspace if it is doing more harm than good. And that's assuming the algorithm will even allow you to do a full reset in the first place. Even worse, maybe you've grown to like the content or the specific influencer you've been shown continuously. If that's the case, we have a whole other set of problems. I see two different ways to define parasocial relationships. There's the pre-chimera arc and the post-chimera arc. Pre would be a connection with someone that they don't know personally. Post would refer to creators or influencers forming or encouraging unhealthy relationships with their fans. And I think that latter definition is a bit harsh. Of course, extremes exist, but as a whole, people just enjoy influencers and their work. I'm not just talking about YouTubers or streamers. It could be artists, poets, athletes, bread. We talked previously about how COVID-19 left a gash in our social ecosystem, but there's a reason why influencers' pages, channels, blogs exploded with new followers and fans. Even before and after the lockdown, some people just struggle socially. Maybe they're introverted, depressed, anxious, have a fear of rejection or exclusion. Having something or someone to watch online without having to face all of the mental gymnastics and hurdles can be incredibly rewarding and enjoyable. We crave social interaction. It's in our DNA, so we turn to these people in our time of need, and they deliver. But it's not perfect. Creators go on holiday, have inconsistent uploading schedules, go on hiatus, or just quit altogether, and that's fine, good for them. But it can take a toll on their audience, both good and bad. There are times I've been brewing for RDC to post the next part to a Let's Play, while also losing my collective shit when I see a notification from a creator who hasn't posted in a millennia. Times like that, it genuinely felt like seeing a close friend for the first time after years of absence. And it's no surprise, there's genuine overlap with parasocial and real relationships like affection, loyalty, and connection. Unfortunately, the opposite of those exist as well. So if your main source of social interaction are these influencers, your IRL pool is incredibly small or non-existent, and you haven't had any new uploads from your favorites, it can be incredibly devastating. And what else am I gonna do? Find new creators? Or rewatch old videos? Look, I'm on my 12th watch of plagiarism in YouTube. I know these things take time, but we need our king to return, please! Speaking of kings, let's talk about the evil king of eggs again. Can't seem to get rid of him this episode. He's like a cockroach. A loud, bald, sexist cockroach. In doing research for this video, I had to subject myself to watching Egg basically jerk himself off in the form of flaunting his various forms of wealth. Now, there's a well-known trope that Instagram is just a hub to showcase our best moments. This leaves us to view it as inauthentic, and yet we're still prone to self-comparison. It triggers in our brain, both consciously and unconsciously, so there's not much we can really do. And when you have someone like Egg displaying his wealth off with the same subtleness as Superman hiding a secret identity, or just saying shit like this.
If you're broke, there is zero reason why you should ever prepare me.
You're gonna make a lot of people, specifically 10.5 million people, feel bad about themselves. And yes, many influencers aren't doing this with malintent. Women have been dealing with this shit since they were blamed for eating fruit. Unrealistic beauty standards, implausible social expectations, making an entire banana pudding from scratch with a whole ass family and a full face on. Even if our beloved Prince Ryan Trahan is innocently talking about how he wants to take his Apple Watch, put it into a locker, and see if it gets stolen for a water slide video, if we have the smallest hint of wanting an Apple Watch ourselves, we'll have a little bit of envy, whether we like it or not. Also, being an influencer is such a coveted career. I mean, why else would a woman that went viral for talking about how she gives head have people literally screaming at her to do something with her newfound fame other than just sell hats? But making money? Doing something creative? Especially if you do the same thing as a hobby, or you wish you had more free time so you could do it, you're gonna get a bit envious. Especially now with the barrier of entry being so much lower than it used to be. It's so common to see someone your same age having or achieving more success, which can highlight your shortcomings, making you feel inadequate. That can lead to guilt, as you may not think you're working hard enough. I've heard it 1,000 times. You've got to grind, stay up late, don't sleep, don't eat, because it's all about the bag. You start adopting perfectionist habits because you attach upward comparison to these influencers' success. So you don't sleep and you're tired. You don't eat and you've got no energy, which leads to mistakes, adds unnecessary stress and anxiety. And the more you encounter failure, the more you draw within yourself. A lot of times this advice about making it big or hitting the bag is coming from people who are already influencers. That is their job. So they're not taking into consideration the fact that you have a 9-to-5 and a second job and a third job and a whole ass family and a sick pet. Or they do, and they're just setting delusional expectations. Regardless, you self-isolate to protect yourself from any further failures or disappointments. The irony being, the more you draw within yourself, the less likely you'll meet, interact, or befriend anyone that can give you support, reasonable advice, or direction to help you accomplish goals, and or to just give you a reality check. Luckily, I've seen a change in the winds in the way of the influencer content, dispelling people from spending money on jewelry or clothes they don't have just because their favorite influencer or content creator is wearing it, or giving an accurate depiction of where someone their age should be in life. Even those that have found moderate success are transparent about how going viral, having a bunch of followers or views is not going to set you up for the cushy life that you think it is. Even the biggest names are doing what they can to be transparent, because it's a mixed bag, right? Some come from privilege, others don't. Some have chance encounters, others tripped upwards every step of the way. A lot of negative comparison comes from seeing the end product. We're quick to forget the humble beginnings of creators that had literal tens of views. Stand-up comedians performing in holes in the wall, or actors auditioning hundreds of times with no callbacks. But we don't see that. We see what we want, even if it's destructive. So what do? Stop watching content creation and stop indulging influencers altogether? Yeah, of course, no problem. Please just leave your smartphone at the door, grow a beard, and start churning butter. But for everybody else, no, you're not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop. The only thing we can do is gain the system. You want a reality check? Watch some de-influencer content and let the algorithm do its thing. If you're stuck in the Manosphere, and I'm assuming you're not hate watching this, you can get out. There's plenty of guides and examples online, even ex-community members who are happy and willing to help. Beyond that, it's mental and not easy. If you've got the money, you already know what I'm gonna say. If you don't, start small, especially if you're already in a withdrawn, self-isolated headspace. Compare yourself to the next closest person. You. Find any win anywhere where you've made self-improvement, and then take the time to compliment yourself. And I mean really compliment yourself with the same energy and relentlessness if you were bashing yourself. I'm not an expert, so I'll do what I can to put helpful links in the description about self-comparison practices and developing emotional resilience. And obviously, if you've got any helpful tips or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, or just bring it up at the next cookout. And I apologize, we had to cancel and push it to next weekend because of the rain. I'm thinking about mixing it up. Maybe we can do sushi this time. So if you've got extra wasabi or chopsticks or soy sauce, please bring it. It'd be a huge help. As always, take your time, take a breath, and take care, okay? Bye. So stupid, dude. This little baby coming by. I can't be screaming Todd Thundercock too loud, but I gotta get this shot.